Hello
Hello there.
there.
Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy, watching all the stars we can get hands on. I'm Eli.
I'm Jacob.
And today we are here for our season 19 retrospective. This is episode 153 of Star Wars in a Galaxy. And we're looking back on season 3 of Star Wars, The Bad Batch. We just recorded, literally not an hour ago, our review of the finale, The Cavalry Has Arrived. So it's a week for all of you, but it's about an hour for us.
So it
We
goes
always do a
sometimes.
double recording with our last episode of the retrospective because retrospectives are very easy to plan.
Yeah.
However, unlike most retrospective episodes, this is not going to be the season finale. However, because next week we are going to be doing a Bad Batch show retrospective. We've only ever done this once before with the TCW show, but we've gone through an entire show and we wanted to do a wider look. So I think we're gonna pump up a tier list. We're gonna do a tier list of all the episodes of the Bad Batch. That's what you can expect for next week. But for this week, we have our normal retrospective format that Jacob and I have both written stuff down for. And yeah, I think without further ado, we should get into it. Jacob, why don't you go first with your overall thoughts about this season?
My overall thoughts about this season. I mean, overall, it was pretty wonderful. You know, as a way to cap off this show, this journey, Hunter, Wrecker, Tech, or no, sorry, no, not Tech. I started. You said it, and I started thinking about the entirety. I started thinking about the show in entirety. Hunter, Wrecker, Crosshair, Omega. You know, everyone that we know and love, and new people like Emery. I think that this season does a really good job of putting that all together and bringing that all together. I kind of feel like maybe it's because we watched it and went through it so differently than we did the Clone Wars. It kind of feels like these seasons, like the character of each season feels so different in a way where it feels like emotionally there's not as much continuity, but that kind of it brings it back in the last section of this season. But overall, I really liked this season. I loved watching Omega grow and blossom. I thought that was obviously her as kind of the main character, the focal point of everything. I think seeing Crosshair kind of come back into the fold, I thought it was a great season. I definitely thought that in terms of just, episode by episode quality and execution, there were a couple of episodes that I definitely didn't love. I thought that it suffered from, less so than many seasons, but that usual animation kind of mid-season drag, it suffered from a little bit. There were a few episodes where I was like, this really feels like connective tissue. This really doesn't have to be its whole own episode. But overall, I mean, the high points, Shadows of Tantus, The Cavalry Has Arrived, like there's some amazing episodes. Yeah, I think I'm not sure if this is, in my opinion, a better season than season 2 of The Bad Batch. It's difficult for me to kind of it's difficult for me to judge them as seasons, because I feel like, or as episodes, I feel like what stands out to me are there's moments and there's through lines that stand out, and then there's other things where I'm just like, well, okay, I don't really care about this. Some of the side characters, some of the side plots, But overall, I thought this was a fantastic season, and I just really enjoyed watching them do justice to the characters that we know and love.
I think that deserves a Force Center. Well said, even though we are not on Force Center right now. But I have been actually popping up during a lot of Force Center stuff. I've been getting really, like, not that I was ever not into Force Center, but like always shouts out to the great Ken Knapsack just from Scrimshaw down in Atlanta. But beyond that, like I agree almost entirely with what you say. I actually can tell you I do think I like season 2. Season 2 is my favorite of this show.
Okay.
Against season 3. I think season 3 is great, but season 2 had that spark in it that I really appreciated, and there were just there's so much great stuff in season 2. Season 2 might be one of my favorite, like, seasons of Star Wars animated television just ever. Like, it's up
Yeah.
there with your Rebels seasons 3 and 4, and with
Yeah.
Resistance season 2, and with your TCW seasons 5 and 6 and 7. It's up there. Um, but yeah, I just want to read my notes just honestly for this. I barely read my notes verbatim, but I think for overall thoughts, I think I did a decent enough job. Star Wars: The Bad Batch season 3 was a great ending to the show that I mostly thoroughly enjoyed, diving deeper into the various crevices of Mount Tantus, as well as keeping the galaxy trotting adventure in scale that we are used to in The Bad Batch. This season did a lot of great exploration into many things, but some of the stuff I love most this season was related to the clones and their fate. While I was hoping for a bit of a more official clone revolt at the end of the season, the story we got of many clones figuring out what they did during Order 66 was wrong, and how they sought revenge on the Empire because of that, is an extremely powerful story that gives agency back to these characters that we love. All of the batch of journeys were also great. Obviously, the main two spotlighted journeys of this season are Omega and Crosshair, and I love how they pull each other up to be the best versions of themselves this season. I predicted in our season 2 retrospective that their relationship would be something special this season, and I've never been prouder to be right. But Hunter and Wrecker also got some great moments as they wrap up their grand conflict with Dr. Royce Hemlock. While I do wish that we got some more details as to exactly what was happening on Mount Tantus, the stuff going on there was easily the most intriguing part of this season. I always got extremely excited when we would return to that place, despite how awful it clearly was for all who had to experience in it. But yeah, great wrap up to the show, probably around the middle of my ranking of Star Wars TV seasons, which is not a knock on the show as much as it is an acknowledgement of how many fantastic Star Wars seasons of television there are.
Very well said. Very well said. I completely agree. I think I now that I'm actually looking back right now, looking at all the episodes that we get in season 2, I think I might agree with you. Season 2 is
Yeah.
pretty phenomenal. I think maybe it can take that mantle for the Bad Batch. But at the same time, I think where season 3 really shines is how it narrows its focus.
Yeah.
It really narrows its focus to, just a few locations pretty much that
Yeah.
are it's really rare that we get anything but a couple of, repeating locations,
Yeah.
Pabu, Antis, especially
Yeah.
towards the end of
It,
the season.
its
You know,
narrow focus, I think, is actually like one of its greatest strengths storytelling wise. I think as a
absolutely.
fan, it can get frustrating sometimes because I love the lore of this show, and the lore of this show has
Yeah.
always been
Yeah.
so deep and rich, and it feels like they kind of pulled back on that a little bit in season 3, whereas season 2 I felt like had that better balance of that stuff, where at least for me it was more preferable, like the stuff like with the Solitary Clone, where we learned that, oh, there was another co-signer of the bill that Bonteri pushed in the Separatist Senate, and now she's pissed, and Separatists all over are getting angry at the Empire. And
Yeah.
oh, this is how they transition specifically from clones to what will eventually be stormtroopers. And oh, this is what Iriadu looks like, and these are the
Yeah.
defenses that are guarding Tarkin's fortress. He's already getting like there are those rich lore details that there just
Yeah.
aren't in season 3, which is not an incredible knock on this season.
Yeah.
Again, like it's that those are like that's the icing on top. That those are the stuff we really love to dig
Yeah.
into, but it's not what's important. The story is important, and on the story, this season fucking delivered.
Yeah. I think what we miss out on in that, I will say what we miss out on in that, in terms of, that can also be, like I said, that can be framed as a strength of this season, where, there's fewer, rotating side characters. There's not as many, like your
Yeah.
Sids, your Roland, even though he does show up in this season, but like your Sids, your Roland Durans, your like your Fasters, to name an episode. Like there's fewer of those moments and people that really take the focus and move it. And I feel like this season, achieves a sense of it achieves a sense of a real sense of focus and continuity throughout that feels unbroken in a way that I haven't really experienced in Star Wars animation since season 4 of Star Wars Rebels. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Like
No,
it feels almost more like an Andor, or a
Yeah.
season.
Careful.
Yeah, it feels okay. I'll leave it there. I know how you feel about
That was
Andor.
a joke. That was a joke.
It's
That was
better
a
than a.
joke. Okay, that was a
It's
joke.
better. We can agree on one thing. It's better than a peanut butter cup. It's better than
Yeah.
$100.
I have
Better
no
than.
idea what you're talking about. I
But
have
like,
no clue what you're talking about.
I think
Anyway,
that's what I like about this season, and that's also what kind of keeps it from really being. What keeps it from being even better is that the story that we do get, which is bringing back Omega and Crosshair uniting, and then reuniting with the Batch, and then Omega, then them trying to track down, why Omega is being taken, and then Omega gets taken again. Like, it feels like it's the amount of time that they actually give it. It doesn't feel like they bring out quite enough substance to really justify that time, and so there are episodes like flat for me. Those episodes
wait.
are
I wouldn't say that
Flash Strike.
yet.
No, not
No,
Flash Strike, but yeah.
don't say that yet.
Okay,
We have an
but
entire section for that.
there are episodes and there are moments where I'm like, we can keep this rolling. We're kind of getting bogged down in the mud for no good reason. That's my one
All right.
criticism of the way that the season kind of unravels from the big picture lens of the retrospective. There's there's a few notable moments where it really gets stuck in the mud. But other than that, like, it feels pretty darn well executed on all fronts. One of the most beautiful seasons of Star Wars animation ever. I know I say that over and
Absolutely.
over again, but
And that includes seasons 1 and 2 of this very show.
yeah, like,
Um,
it really does feel like we've reached new heights just in the forest, the clouds, like these little details, the Tantus especially, like, it's just they're just showing off at a certain point. It's really
yeah.
it's really amazing to see, like, the style that we first saw in the Clone Wars, the subtle developments, and just the deepening and the enriching of it with more and more kind of detail and graphic muscle. It's really amazing.
Yeah. Jacob, I think it's time. I
Is it
think it's
time?
time for it's become a ritual at this point. We've done this now how many? This is the 10th time we're doing this
Is it the
on
10th
In the
time?
Galaxy. 7 seasons of TCW, 3 seasons of Bad Batch. Oh wait, no, this is the 11th time because Young Jedi Adventures. I forgot. I almost forgot.
Young Jedi
11th time.
Adventures.
11th.
Who could forget?
YJ baby. YJ. I've seen a few months ago they did do the first half of season 2, and I can confirm
Mm,
it's great. And I can also can confirm we're still slowly, not quickly enough, but slowly inching towards Tabor Redemption. It's fantastic. We love it. We love to see it, folks. But
we love
either
to see
way,
it.
the 11th time doing this, send me that list and I will put it into our document. Would you do our listeners the favor of reading it out loud from bottom to top?
I will. But starting from the bottom, my number 15 was Paths Unknown. I really didn't care very much for that episode. Number 14, I had Bad Territory. My 13th was Identity Crisis. At 12, I had Confined. At 11, I had Flash Strike. At 10 was The Harbinger. At number 9, I had The Return. My 8th place was Infiltration. At 7th, I had Into the Breach. At 6th, I had A Different Approach. My number 5 was Extraction. My number 4 was Juggernaut, although they are virtually tied. My number 3 was Point of No Return. My number 2 was The Shadows of Tantus. And to absolutely no one's surprise, least of all you, Eli, The Cavalry Has Arrived was my number 1 pick, because that was truly something special.
Yeah. I'm looking at our 2 lists, and there are some great similarities, and there are 2 differences that I'm going to talk about afterwards. But without further ado, number 15, The Harbinger. Unsurprisingly to anybody who's heard my thoughts on that episode. Though I don't think it's bad, again. Number 15, The Harbinger. Number 14, Juggernaut. Number 13, Paths of the Unknown. Number 12, Bad Territory. Number 11, The Return. Number 10, Into the Breach. Number 9, Confined. Number 8, Shadows of Tantus. Number 7, Flash Strike. Number 6, just like Jacob, a different approach. Number 5, point of no return. Number 4, infiltration. Number 3, extraction. Number 2, identity crisis. And number 1, the cavalry has arrived. So Jacob and I have both have the same first and sixth place with the cavalry has arrived and a different approach. We also both have the extraction infiltration duo as well as point of no return high up. Jacob
Yeah.
has point of no return a lot higher than I do, and I have extraction and infiltration a little higher than Jacob does. But there are two that automatically stick out to me.
Mm.
That because this is where we usually talk about our discrepancies on the list, and there are two that are that instantly I think we'll both have questions for each other. Let's first go to Juggernaut. Jacob, you listed this at
Mm.
4th. I listed it as second to last. We definitely had differing opinions on this episode. I'm gonna throw it to you first. Why did you love Juggernaut?
So I loved Juggernaut because, yes, it was not very heavy on character development, or, you know, it had its emotional depth, but it wasn't a super heavy hitter in that realm. I give you that. However, I just felt that the execution and the way that they kind of communicated and impressed upon the audience the stakes, and also seeing just the way that the batch works together when they're desperately trying to get Omega back. Like, this was just one of the most like tightly crafted, just kind of just tense taut with anticipation, suspense, desperation. In terms of that, this was one of the best episodes that we got. Not to mention, it was just jaw-droppingly beautiful through and through, animation-wise. Just the scale of the prison planet, the Imperial Wall, the complex, all the action scenes that we got. It really felt like such a perfect example of one of those episodes where it's all about just bringing the audience in and just setting up the stakes emotionally for what comes next, and for the build to the grand finale. So for that reason, I thought it was very, very enjoyable, and I had it pretty high up on my list.
Yeah. I've discussed, I think, at length in 2 episodes ago why I wasn't crazy about Juggernaut, so I won't belabor the point too much. I do feel like it was the Bad Batch's version of The Believer, with Rampart standing in for Mayfeld, and I only like Rampart the tiniest bit more than Mayfeld. So,
I disapprove of that comparison, of the episodic comparison, but I do see your
either
point,
way,
I guess.
I thought there was some great action. Don't get me wrong. I thought seeing Rampart, like what it had done to him and all that kind of stuff, was interesting. What the prison time had done to him, but I just like it was good, and that was kind of about it. Now let's talk about the exact opposite situation. I have Identity Crisis second. You have it third to last. I'll again give you the floor to voice why you put Identity Crisis so low.
Okay, so I think, just given the promise of finally revealing the Vault and Project Necromancer, obviously what they're doing is it's completely horrible and it's horrifying. And yet just the way that it was framed and the way that they executed, pacing wise in this episode, it just didn't really, in my opinion, do a convincing job of capitalizing on that payoff. And I didn't really enjoy that very much. You can make the argument like, yes, ordinary people can do and take part in extraordinary evil things. That's part of the point. And yet it just felt a bit lacking. I think this wasn't so much that this episode was really terrible. I think it was, for me, it was just an example of, this is an episode that feels like it's very necessary, but this part of the story feels like connective tissue. And looking back on the story of the kids in Omega, and what they accomplish by the end of this, I just feel like they didn't need to build an entire episode around it necessarily in this way, I think.
Yeah, no, I can understand
That's what I
that.
would say about it. It's like
I can
it's for
understand
me,
that.
it's like kind of like a 5, 6 out of 10 episode. Like it's not horrible. It's just compared to a lot of the other episodes, it just feels like it really lacks focus.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm
I
kind of just like
guess
the
I
whole thing
maybe
with
put
Sid. I'm just
my
like,
blame
okay,
of
you know,
nothing being revealed on other episodes. Like I think I put that more than you on Shadows of Tantus
mm,
and the Cavalry Has Arrived, the finale, and maybe even you could have done it in Flash Strike. I don't know. Either way, I guess for me, I didn't what I like. I think that this was the episode probably the most improved from my first watch. I think I liked it at first watch, but it was paired with Point of No Return, and all everybody was thinking about that day was Point of No Return was Omega
yeah,
left and was captured willingly. So this
mm,
episode kind of got overlooked. But what I think is so special about this episode is that first of all, it's a Bad Batch episode with no Bad Batch in it. There are none of the members in this, but it
yeah,
is integral to the plot. It is, and just like this is our first glimpse of the kids, and we see with Bairn the full process beginning to end of a kid being reported on for something that they can't control
that is true.
and being separated from their mother, being separated from everything they know. This kid was an infant. This wasn't even he was constantly having to be carried on the backs of other kids. Like he had probably no idea what was going on, but goddamn, was it scary for him? I'm sure. We got the
Yeah,
return of
yeah,
Cad Bane,
definitely.
and we had the current return of Cad Bane, as menacing as he always is, and and
I did
with
love Cad Bane
Emery,
in this episode.
yeah,
I
we
will give
with
that.
we get to discover what is in the vault and exactly why is in the vault, um, and share Emery's sense of unease about that as Dr. Hemlock and Dr. Scalder remain like perfectly fine with everything going down. And I think that like jarringness, I think much like Confined, actually, the premiere of this season, there's a certain like tonal painting that this episode does that I think very much gravitates towards to me, which is like this episode is not about what's happening, it's about how it's happening. It's
Mm,
about like it is fully exploring vibe wise the sense of this vault of the panopticon, like we mentioned, the panopticon style setup of all of these scientists and doctors watching these kids for what they don't really know, and they've said they're going to go home soon, but that was 2 days ago, and that was a week
yeah,
ago, and that was a month ago, and that was a year ago, and now they're not so sure, being kept for a purpose that they don't really understand. Nobody will tell them anything. And now there's this new woman there, and oh wait, now Nalise's not there, and it's this incredible, like it's depressing. Of course, it's depressing as hell, and it's disturbing. But I think it's just done so beautifully that I can't help but admire it.
that's fair. That's fair. If you really enjoy that aspect of it, then yes, I can see how
Yeah,
this is a monumental episode in
yeah,
the show for you.
yeah. But mostly, other than that, our lists are pretty damn similar. You have the
Yeah,
Harbinger a little higher than I do. It's in like the
yeah,
middle of your list where it's the bottom of my list. I understand that I have certain issues with that episode, mostly because
yeah.
I still am getting over, like, I think actually getting into the MCU has helped me with this little issue, which is like I still have my like gripes with any time they bring a character back from the dead. Um, I still have my issues with that. However, I will say, well, A, getting into the MCU where that happens all the fucking time, and you just kind of have to deal with it. And B, there was a line that Thrawn said in chapter 6 of Ahsoka. What was it? After all, death and resurrection are common illusions played out by Jedi and Night Sisters alike. Which basically was a signal to me from Dave that, hey, we can revive anybody who uses the Force that we fucking want to. And this is us basically just saying that.
Maybe a
As
bit.
Asajj Ventress as Asajj Ventress is not a Jedi and not a Night Sister, but both at the same time, you can absolutely BS your way into saying how she came back with Force bullshit, with Night Sister bullshit, with anything you want to.
Yeah.
I just think but yeah, but I just had issues with like how much Ventress like kind of wasn't impacting the episode as a whole. Yeah, I actually got ahead of ourselves. I went to like the worst episode, but I think we should probably both talk about this. Let's talk about best episode because we have the same one. I mean, we just did for 2 hours, but like, um, you know, I
The
don't think it
Cavalry Has
needs
Arrived was a masterpiece. It
yeah,
was a
I don't think it needs to
masterpiece.
be belabored much more by us why we both think it's the best episode of this season. It
Yeah,
wraps it up so well. It delivers the happy ending we never knew we needed. It
yeah,
wraps up a lot of these arcs, not only for the season but for the series, so damn well with Crosshair and with Omega and with Hunter.
yeah.
And it's a joy to see those kids get out of there. It's a joy to see Emery doing the right thing. It's a joy to see that rat bastard finally get popped. Although
Which one?
that's it.
Which
I'm
one?
talking about Hemlock. I'm talking about Hemlock.
But I'm just
I'm
saying, you get Hemlock, but we also
you get
bye bye
Rampart.
Rampart as
Yeah,
well. You
yeah,
know,
but I'm talking
two
about
rat
Hemlock, and
bastards
the reason
in
I
one.
and then although I will say I think I do have an issue with his death, with Hemlock's death in that I forgot to bring up last episode. I think it was too merciful. That man should have suffered.
Damn.
That man should have suffered for what he did. This man is a full-on sociopath, and you're telling me he got like shot what, like 7, 8 times? That's nice. That's nice. Never has the Star Wars fandom online is known for many things, good and bad, but I will give people online credit for this. Never have we reunited, not since Pongrel have we reunited around a character and unilaterally said, fuck that guy to the sun and back, like we did with Mr. Royce Hemlock. And and I
Yeah,
love that because he absolutely fucking deserves it.
shoot him into the sun. Absolutely,
Yeah,
100% agree.
God, I hate that. Like there was an early theory, and I almost kind of do wish this had happened, which was that that the way he was going to go was he was going to be eaten by the Zilla Beast.
That would have been pretty funny.
I think that would have been a lot better. Not that his death, not that his death was bad in any way. I'm just saying, like he got it easy, in my
Yeah,
opinion. But yeah, but it's a damn good series finale, damn good episode, up there with the greats. I already
absolutely.
talked about why I wasn't a huge fan of the Harbinger. Jacob, why don't you walk us through Paths Unknown?
So for Paths Unknown, I mean, this is where, the batch cuts a deal with the Durand family and they follow their intel to Cetron. I have it written down, but I can't remember how it's pronounced.
Tetran, I think probably, but
Cetron,
I
yeah,
don't know.
Cetron, Cetron. They go to this jungle world and they find Hemlock's abandoned old base, and they spend a lot of the episode fighting with these like little shop of horrors, like feed me Seymour like vines called slither vines, and then they I don't know, and then the kid clones, there's Mox, Stack, and Deke, and I think was Stack and Mox are plotting to escape, but then they decide to go back. They take the kids to Pabu, their clone kids. This was one episode that I really feel like the show didn't have its focus. I didn't find the new personalities interesting or compelling. We don't really hear from them again. It doesn't really tell us anything new about the existing characters. It doesn't give them, a really like experience that's meaningful for them in the show, their characters in the show going forwards. It just kind of felt a little cliched and meaningless, this plot overall. So I felt that it lacked justification for its own existence in the story of this season.
Yeah. And I mostly agree with you. It's not much higher on my list. It's only 2 slots higher on my list. So I yeah, I mostly agree with you, but I think I do think it was necessary at the end of the day just to show the state of the batch without Omega and without Tech, of course, and without Echo. and without Crosshair, so just Hunter and Wrecker, I
Yeah,
guess. But yeah, no, I agree that I think the execution was a little lacking. All right, best character, Jacob.
I'm gonna go with two because I feel like you can't have one without the other this season. It's Crosshair and Omega. Their developments and their relationship in this season is just delightful. It truly is. I loved seeing them. I was actually a little sad when Omega got reunited with the entirety of the batch, just because I thought, oh man, I really wanted, I wanted more of just watching these two, amazingly different personalities kind of bounce off each other, and just watching Omega with her love and her kindness and her, her hope for a better future, just kind of break down Crosshair's, kind of frosty exterior. So the two of them, I would say, if I have to pick one, this is Omega's season. This is Omega's show. But Omega and Crosshair really, really make this season special for me.
So I checked who my best character was in the past seasons, and I can say this: she's going 3 for 3. It's Omega. Yeah, of course it is. Everything that Jacob said and more. She comes into her own this season. It's a joy to see her grow into the fully formed version of who she is. I can't wait to see Rebel Omega, and not to pat myself on the back too much, but I do like this, and how she helps the Alliance to restore the Republic, destroy the fascist system that took so much from her and those around her. So yeah, no, Omega is the heart and soul of this show. She was my favorite in season 1. She was my favorite in season 2, and nothing has changed. What about your worst character?
Worst character. Worst character is really difficult
Yeah, I didn't have a worst character.
for
I
this
just
one
had a
because
character that I
I
didn't
feel like
really
everyone
vibe with
has
for
their
plot
place.
reasons.
It feels mean to choose Mock Stack and Deke when they were in this for one episode. Like they do go through it. So I think Hemlock. He's a pretty fantastic. He's a pretty fantastic villain. He really he rouses my ire time and again in this season. So
I was gonna say that
in lieu
I
of
think
someone that I
Hemlock is one
actually
of the
like think
yeah.
shouldn't be in the show, I might pick Hemlock just for always making me scared and mad and
Yeah.
worried for what he's got planned
Jimmy
next for the
Simpson
Bad
good
Batch.
at his job. God damn it, man.
He's too good at
I
his
will
job.
say, and
Some
again, this
people
is not
shouldn't be
like
good at
the
their
worst
jobs.
character. This is not the worst character. I still am not crazy about the decision to bring Rampart back. I understand what it did for the story, but I'm still not crazy about it. That I
Animal.
think that'll always be a personal gripe of mine, but whatever.
Yeah.
He appears in 4 episodes. I can really hardly fault the entire
Yeah.
season for it. It
If
just
he's in the
just
whole
didn't work
season, that
for
would be
me.
different.
Yeah, no, but yeah. So he was the coolest thing you noticed for the well. Only one of us rewatched this, so I think what I noticed is structurally the same thing that's interesting. Bad Batch seasons 1 and 2 were very clearly divided into halves, where we had our 2-part or extra long in the case of season 1 premieres, and then we had development, mid-season, development, build up, end of season. Those were the structures of seasons 1 and 2.
Yeah.
This we had the opening trio, which was okay, they're on Tantus. How does it affect them? And they're off. Then we have 4 and 5 to get them back, get them reacquainted, address stuff with the batch, do that. Then we have the closest thing to a midseason with extraction and infiltration. Then we have development. Then we get to identity crisis and point of no return, which is like the other midseason development finale. And I think what's so interesting is that we had what I feel like we had less. Like I feel like point of no return and identity crisis and extraction and infiltration, even though they did have great impacts, I felt like they were saving a lot of that big punch energy that usually mid-season episodes get and putting it all instead into that series finale.
Mm.
They were removing a bit of the again, I'm not saying that there were shock and awe moments in extraction, infiltration, identity crisis, and point of no return. I am just saying I think they were toned down a little bit to give the finale the real impact that it had. I'm not saying if this was good or bad. I'm not saying like any. It's just an observation I made.
Yeah, it's possible.
Um,
It's very possible.
yeah, it's I just find it interesting in how the season's structured. Um, Favorite planet. Our final question on here. Favorite planet.
Ooh, that's so tough because I think the obvious answer is Wayland, but then
It's
Pabu.
my answer. It's
The
my answer.
moments that we get on Pabu. Okay, if you're going Wayland, then I'm gonna Wayland may well be the most justifiable answer, but I will vouch. I will argue for Pabu as well. The moments that we get on Pabu this season, in this finale, in some of the other, I can't remember exactly which one, but some of the other episodes, some of the moments that we get, with Crosshair, whether it's Crosshair and Omega, Crosshair kind of coming back into the fold, even seeing Fee again, just the moments that we get on Pabu are pretty remarkable. And I think what Pabu represents of like a real, mostly peaceful, mostly safe home, a place for the clones to really, really live the life that they choose and live the life where they're not forced to be soldiers. That's something we've never really seen before in Star Wars, hardly ever, and for the clones, never, where you really have the choice to not fight and be a human being and be alive on your own terms. And I think that in
I,
many ways, we see the microcosm of the clones who survived kind of getting to have their retirement and getting to have the peaceful life that so many clones never got to have. And I think for that reason, Pabu's a darn important planet.
it is. I think I appreciated a little bit more when I thought it was just those two episodes in season two. Like I love the singular moment of time before the shit hits the fan. It's not to
Yeah,
say I hate Pablo now, far from it. But Wayland finally, like, what's going on Tantus? Like a little, at least a little bit, like seeing the cold, calculated imperial design for me. Like that's the stuff, man.
it is
Uh,
brilliant. It is brilliantly well
and
done.
but they how it is both faithful to the Thrawn trilogy, but also they added their own spin on it, which is like one of my favorite things they've done with Legends and canon is it's not about like up until like the we figured out what the Grogu saga of live action shows was doing. There were no direct copies from Legends. There was okay, we're going to take this element from Legends and interpolate it into the canon. We're going
Yeah,
to see what we can do with it. We're going to use Thrawn as a villain mostly before A New Hope, before they knew they were going to do it after. Yeah.
yeah,
And we're going to use Wayland as an architect for Palpatine's return instead of having to do more with Thrawn. Or we're gonna have Palpatine come back, but not and we're gonna have him seduce the the Scott the son of Han and Leia to the dark side. It's not going to be some other person. It's going to be Palpatine who's returning. We're combining Dark Empire and the New Jedi Order and Fate of the Jedi, and so I think they did that with Wayland very effectively. Any other thoughts about the Bad Batch season three before we get to the second part of the episode? Which, even though this is not the final episode of this season, I am going to be doing like our customary look ahead at what's happening for in a galaxy in the near future now that we've finished Star Wars, the Bad Batch.
I think we should get to it.
Yeah. So next week we will be doing our tier list of all the Bad Batch episodes of all seasons, as we did last time. We did a top 10 episodes for the Clone Wars, but since there are fewer episodes of the Bad Batch, like I feel like that would eat into the fun of the tier list too much. So I decided if this is good with you, Jacob, I think we should probably just do the tier list, and I think that'll be enough for that episode.
Yeah, sounds good. It'll give
All
us a
right.
chance to
Yeah.
kind of discuss
Um, yeah.
everything in
And then
summary.
of course, yeah, and then of course we of course I want to get one more small thing in. So season 19 and a half of Star Wars in a Galaxy. Oh yeah, and there's going to be a special episode in there as well. So next week will be the Bad Batch retrospective, season 19 finale, and then there'll be a special episode, and then we'll go into season 19 and a half of Star Wars in a Galaxy, which is Tales of the Empire, which Jacob's also going to be watching fresh. He has never seen uh, Tales of the Empire. Again, we're doing a lot of stuff that's come out this year, but we still have a. Tales of the Empire was May 4th, I believe. Yeah, it was May 4th. So it will have been a good 6 months. So I've had plenty of time to sit with it. I honestly forget a lot of Tales of the Empire just because a lot of what I paid attention to in Star Wars this year. Not saying that Bad Batch, I didn't pay attention to the Bad Batch or anything like that, but like the big thing for me
Yeah,
this year with Star Wars was the Acolyte, and
definitely.
as it was the live action piece of television this year, and but yeah, so we'll do Tales of the Empire. We're not going to be doing all three Morgan Elsbeth shorts because, as you know, if you've watched it, as I explained to Jacob earlier, the third one takes place past where we are in the timeline, so we are going to remain faithful. So I'd say expect the first episode of season 19 and a half of In a Galaxy maybe to be on a bit of the shorter side, but the second episode, that would be episode 156 of Star Wars in a Galaxy, which will cover all three of the Barris shorts. We will have our good friend Andy from Force Friends Rewatch, also a competitor in Epic Confrontations, who joined us for the Ahsoka shorts of Tales of the Jedi. I've decided, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we had them, as there are like tales of person. We're so excited to have them back. So they will be on with us for that. And then no special episodes separating season 19 and a half and 20. For season 20 of Star Wars in a Galaxy, we're doing it, everyone. Where Jacob's going to make all the jokes he wants, and frankly, he deserves to make them.
I'm ready. I'm so ready.
We are going to, yes, indeed, we are going to be doing season 20 of Star Wars in the Galaxy, Andor. One episode per episode, because the episodes
Bring
are
it on.
longer in Andor. It's going to be a 13-episode season, all 12 plus retrospectives. I already have guests lined up who I'm planning to invite. I think it's important, obviously, given like, and of course we have a commitment to this generally on the show, but especially given Andor's deep political subject matter and deep subject matter of like dealing with people who don't look like Jacob and I do, that we're going to have a lot of diverse voices on the show for Andor season 1. And, I might get into my jokes. Andor is better than blah, blah, blah. That account I did that pissed people off for no reason.
I thought that was the account that you had no idea existed, that you didn't know anything about, Eli.
What account? What account? Anyway, we'll have Jacob will have his fun with that. And, I'm not going to say it's entirely undeserved, but, yeah, that's that. But
It'll be a good time.
that it will be, and actually very likely, actually not very likely, confirmed basically, due to some scheduling stuff, we might take a short break during the turn of the year going into 2025. And I will just say that we will be doing Andor into the new year. Andor will probably wrap up Andor probably February or March. So Andor is going to be for a significant amount of the future for Star Wars in a Galaxy. You go in the fall and winter seasons. So yeah, it's all. I also recognize it's going to be a little weird of what we're doing just because of the lengths of the Andor episodes, and because you watch Andor in arcs, but we're going to be watching them in episodes, and like at least with us, we're not doing it like we're not watching. People. It was fine to watch it in episodes when it was coming out, but we're not watching it in episodes, and it came out like 2 years ago, so it'll be a little strange. But I'm excited for that stuff, and we have a lot of other great stuff coming down the pipeline for In a Galaxy. Stay tuned. Also, actually, I will just make this tease. This is going to happen way later in the year as well. But as some of you may know, Star Wars in a Galaxy has been around for quite a time. And this January, we will hit 5 years old.
I can't really believe that. That's crazy.
It's fucking crazy. We braved the pandemic. Jacob and I have been on different coasts for quite a while.
Yeah.
It's frankly rarer that we get to do an in-person recording than a remote recording. I would
Oh,
say a good 90% of our recordings have been remote due to the pandemic,
absolutely.
or due to just, because Jacob's across the country from me.
Yeah.
But we are going to be doing a 5-year live stream. Probably, we're not going to be doing it in January for scheduling reasons. I think we're probably going to end up doing it in late December. Stay tuned for more details about that. But we're gonna have fun. I think we're gonna do a mega Star Wars opinions episode. This is what an idea I discussed with Jacob. Do a mega Star Wars opinions episode. Have some people on, friends of the show, people who've helped with the construction of our show and getting it where it is today. It's fucking wild, and I'm so excited to celebrate 5 years with Jacob and
Yeah.
with all of you. So stay tuned
It's
for
gonna be
that.
cool.
That's going to be it for this episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy. Next week, as I already told you, we're going to be doing our Bad Batch series retrospective, doing another one of them tier lists, just negotiating and ranking all the episodes of this fine show right here that we've been talking about for the last 2 years or so. Anyway, we'll be back next week. But until then, you can listen to us everywhere. You can follow us on all social medias: Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads. I'm specifically trying to use those two more, at In a Galaxy Pod or at Star Wars in a Galaxy. I know, actually, I think I changed the Instagram to at In a Galaxy Pod to standardize everything. You can follow me everywhere with my link tree, linktr.ee/_OGFan327. I'm gonna put a disclaimer before, like, or some sort of, like, not disclaimer, but like put it sort of like pre tag on next episode. But because I think by this time it'll be too late, but by the last episode it won't be. But I hope everybody voted in this election in the United States, which is
Oh,
somehow going down yet again, another presidential election in the United States. Yeah, did I do my link tree? I think I did my link tree. Yeah.
yeah.
But until next time, I think all there's to say is may the force be with you
Always.
always.